Hello and welcome back to 4FS Gaming. Our tips video for Squadrons seemed to help out a lot of people last week, so today I wanted to take a bit of a deeper dive in and explore one of the more unique and powerful loadout options available to interceptors and fighters. It is of course the Plasburst Laser Cannon, and this piece of kit, as per the hangar statistics, has an extremely high damage output, but how it delivers that damage is very different to most Starship weapons. In this video, we are going to explore and test the statistics of the Plasburst Laser Cannon, compare its performance to that of the more standard lasers available, and also look at how this weapon creates complex interactions with how you manage your power distribution and your weapon overcharge. So the most basic difference between the Plasburst and other lasers is that it does not fire automatically in a continuous stream, but rather it fires a single high damage shot. This can be charged up by holding down and then releasing the fire command. It is possible to fire the Plasburst rapidly by tapping the fire button, but if you do this, you're going to be missing out on a lot of damage. I tested the rapid Plasburst firing on a raider in practice mode, and it took 5 uncharged shots to deal 1% damage to the raider, while a single charged shot deals 5% damage. So just to put this into perspective, fully charging the Plasburst, which only takes a few moments anyway, provides 25 times the damage of just tapping the trigger. Key takeaway is always charge the Plasburst. Now just a quick note about the testing here. Watching the health of the raider go down in the targeting scanner doesn't tell us the full story, as what gets displayed are rounded numbers. This means there may be a small margin of error, but overall I believe the numbers that I've discovered for this video are accurate estimates of weapon damage. Now this has some really interesting tactical applications. Because it has a huge amount of damage that's delivered in a single hit, your opponent has less time to evade and respond. When you start landing hits with a normal laser, you need to keep landing hits and therefore keep the enemy in your sights to maintain that damage. The Plasburst operates very differently. The enemy only has to be centered in your sights for a split second to receive a massive burst of damage. And against a tricky target, if you're great at timing your shots, this means that your damage output will be much higher than other weapons. That being said, every miss with the Plasburst is costly, and you can't just start shooting and then bring your sights across your target while spamming in order to at least land some damage. You need to be precise with this primary weapon. The second important thing to understand is that even though the customization screen provides damage per second values for each weapon, this gives us no indication of if this is measured over a short or sustained period of time. Of course, over a very short time frame, the Plasburst has all of the other weapons beat for damage. It only needs a single hit to deliver a full payload, rather than continual hits over time like other weapons. But does its sustained DPS stack up to normal lasers? Well, for this I tested the Plasburst, firing at full charge, against the standard A-Wing laser cannon. Now again, I used the raider in practice mode as my test dummy, and I had 4 pips in weapons for both attempts. It took 17 seconds to deal 50% damage to the raider using the Plasburst, while it took 33 seconds to do the same amount when using a standard A-Wing laser. So over really extended periods of time, the Plasburst still has decent sustained DPS, simply because of its energy management. You don't need to spend waiting for your weapons to recharge energy, they do so almost instantly with the Plasburst. Now it should be noted that the damage I'm dealing to the raiders here doesn't equate to what it's going to look like in fleet battles. This is in practice mode on story difficulty, and I'm only using the raider as basically a measurement, a comparative measurement of what the damage does compared to different weapons and different ways of firing. Things do change slightly when you look at how long it takes to deal 25% damage to this raider. The Plasburst takes 8 seconds, while the standard laser only takes 7 seconds, because it can deal that damage before running out of charge. The takeaway here is that even though the Plasburst has an excellent instant burst DPS, its sustained damage is lower than standard lasers, until those standard lasers run out of charge, at which point the Plasburst can keep on going, while the other weapons have to take time off shooting, and in many cases, that takes a long time. So with that out of the way, let's talk about overcharging. We know that with 4 pips in weapons, the Plasburst deals 5% damage to our test raider per charged shot. But what happens if we overcharge the weapons fully? Well, in this case, each fully charged overcharged shot is dealing 9% damage, which is almost double. Now if you have full power to weapons, you will have to wait slightly longer between shots as you wait for that second bar of weapon overcharge to fully recover. but doing so massively increases your burst damage. Waiting that extra time won't matter in dogfights because you're likely going to be taking that long to recenter your target for a guaranteed hit anyway. And this is where the Plasburst really excels, hitting extremely hard against other fighters, and it can potentially take down an unshielded A-wing in a single hit, which is devastating. So armed with this knowledge, let's talk about power management. Usually you want to overcharge weapons before you enter a fight, so that you get the excess damage from the overcharge meter. The Plasburst, again, is very different. The overcharge accumulates and also decays so quickly when power is removed from weapons that there is no point pre-charging them. Keep everything to your engines or shields, and then only place full power into weapons a second or two before you plan to fire. As you keep firing, you can keep power in weapons, but if at any point you need to maneuver or have lost the target, direct your power back to engines. It doesn't matter if your overcharge decays. It doesn't matter if your weapons are not even charged at all. The speed at which the Plasburst can go from 0 to full overcharge the moment you place full power back into engines is extremely fast, and this is part of what makes it such a strong piece of kit. Now this gets even more interesting when you consider the power shunting ability of TIE fighters and TIE interceptors. Normally with TIEs, I would just put full power to engines and shunt across power to weapons when I need to reload their overcharge. Now this is not the case here. The Plasburst overcharge decays so quickly without power in weapons that it would be a waste, so I switch between engines and weapons as needed, just like I would with a New Republic ship. What the Plasburst does offer TIE fighters, however, is unlimited boost. Yep, it's simply that good. Because the overcharge builds up so quickly, if you have power to weapons, you can shunt this across to engines to instantly charge your boost meter. And you can keep doing this as the Plasburst overcharge just recovers so damn quickly when there is power in weapons. All you need to achieve full boost from 0 boost is to place power in weapons, wait around 2 seconds, and then shunt that power into your engines and transfer your pips back to engines to give you that further edge. It's quite incredible just how agile you can become when doing this. So yeah, the Plasburst Laser Cannon is really strong. It allows for interesting choices with power management and power shunting, it deals obscene burst damage against other fighters, and it can still sustain high damage over time if needed. It's great for ambush tactics, as your opponent doesn't get any warning before half of their hull or shield is stripped away in an instant, especially if you don't have any missiles locking onto them telling them that you're there. The only real downside is the range. 600 meters is lower than most laser weapons, but realistically you would probably struggle to land hits with the Plasburst from any further away regardless. And then you also have to hit your shots. If you're struggling to land hits or aim, then this might not be the weapon for you yet, but as you practice, it certainly gets more and more potent. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please consider subscribing or connecting with us over on our Discord server linked in the description below. A massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters, and also to you guys for watching all the way through. This is Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.